In the world of NBA scouting and drafting, prospects are broken down and analyzed in incredible depths. Every flaw in their game gets magnified and discussed, despite the fact that they're still extremely early in their development as basketball players. Every detail of their game is dissected, from their physical measurements to their on-court performance. Yet, amidst this intense scrutiny, certain players often find themselves flying under the radar, overlooked by scouts. While some skills like shooting and decision-making can be improved over time, one thing that remains constant is height. And in a league that values length and versatility more than ever before in history, smaller players are often swiped right off teams' draft boards, while taller but less refined players go ahead of them. That leads us to a player that we believe is being overlooked in the upcoming NBA draft, Iowa State guard Tamin Lipsey. At 6'1", Lipsey has an uphill battle to be an effective pro at the NBA level. However, the dude is armed with the fastest hands and quickest feet among draft-eligible prospects. Tamin Lipsey is the leader for Iowa State, one of the best teams and arguably the toughest conference in the country, both on offense and defense. And to break down what kind of player we're looking at, let's look at what kind of player Lipsey is on offense. Even though Lipsey isn't an elite scorer, he's a very effective player offensively, at least at the college level. For starters, Tamin Lipsey can get the ball to the rim at will. Though he's short by NBA standards, he's built like a freight train, weighing in at 200 pounds. And he's got an explosive first step that enables him to blow past defenders and attack the basket for layups and floaters. At 6'1", Lipsey rarely dunks, but is still extremely efficient around the rim, scoring on about 65% of his attempts. And because Lipsey relishes contact, he often gets to the free throw line, where he's knocked down about 72% of his attempts throughout his 2 seasons in college. However, Lipsey doesn't profile as a starting point guard at the NBA level because he's not an elite scorer or ball handler. But that doesn't mean he isn't reliable with the ball in his hands. This season, Lipsey averaged 4.6 assists per game, ranking him 5th in the Big 12 for the 2nd consecutive season. He's a willing passer who's actually very capable of driving to break down defenses and then finding open teammates for kick-out passes. On top of that, Lipsey brings a lot to the table offensively as an off-the-ball guard. He loves to cut to the basket and seems to think the game at a high level, frequently making a pass and then fluidly moving to an open spot on the floor, keeping defenders on their toes. Also, despite his height, Lipsey's a really good rebounder on both ends of the court. In fact, Lipsey has averaged 1.4 offensive rebounds per game throughout his college career, proving that he's far from your typical undersized point guard. As a three-point shooter, Lipsey's put in work and improved since he entered the NCAA. Never one to force a shot, Lipsey attempted less than a three-pointer per game as a freshman, but was pretty unreliable in those attempts, only shooting them with 20% accuracy. But this season, he's expanded his game and has been extremely reliable from beyond the arc. In his sophomore season, Lipsey shot over 3 balls per game at over 39% accuracy. While it's unlikely that Lipsey will evolve into an elite three-point shooter in the NBA, he could be reliable enough to remain a threat. His three-point shooting numbers are comparable to Iowa State's former point guard Monte Morris's senior season. Since his days in college, Morris has become one of the best point guards in the NBA after getting drafted 51st overall in the 2nd round by the Nuggets in 2017. Though Lipsey's offensive game is stellar, it remains to be seen how it will translate at the NBA level. But what makes him extremely compelling as a prospect is how dominant he's been on the defensive end of the floor. Lipsey is a bona fide ball thief that can single-handedly disrupt an offensive game plan in a variety of ways. The same can't be said about very many prospects. He's sensationally quick on defense with both his hands and feet. He can poke the ball loose, intercept a pass, swipe a ball handler. I mean, the dude could be a case study on how to steal a basketball. In fact, since 2008, Lipsey has the 2nd highest steal rate of any prospect behind only Matisse Thybulle, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. And Thybulle's historic season was as a senior, while Lipsey did so in his sophomore year of college. Beyond stealing the ball, Lipsey's also elite in basically every other aspect of defending a point guard. He's strong, quick, fast, can battle his way around screens, is quick to rotate and make reads, and is noticeably vocal on the court. There's no doubt in our minds that Tamin Lipsey's been the best defensive point guard in college basketball this season. Still, despite doing all this as a sophomore, Lipsey's projected to go in the 2nd round in most mock drafts. Some boards have him going undrafted entirely, and that's what leads us back to where we started. The reason Lipsey is low on draft boards is because he's a 6'1" guard who doesn't have elite starting point guard skills. NBA teams are often reluctant to utilize first-round selections on players who they have pegged as backups, but is it fair to say that Lipsey can't be a starter in the NBA, even as a secondary guard? Let's take a couple of looks at teams that successfully deployed players comparable in height to Lipsey as starters beside a more ball-dominant point guard. First, let's look at Fred VanVleet, who started alongside Kyle Lowry in Toronto when the team won the NBA championship in 2019. While Fred's about 6 foot even, he has elite dribbling skills and can knock down the three-pointer to boot. On top of that, like Lipsey, VanVleet has a stocky frame and can cause chaos as a perimeter defender. While Lipsey might not have the offensive game that VanVleet does, just remember, Fred went undrafted after 4 seasons at Wichita State University. Despite standing at just 6 feet tall, VanVleet has tenacity, shooting ability, and defensive skills. Another example was Chris Paul, who started alongside James Harden in Houston. At the time, Houston was one of the best teams in the league, and had Paul not gotten injured, they could have beaten Kevin Durant and the Warriors and won the NBA title. Chris Paul is obviously a future Hall of Famer with some of the best ball skills and passing skills in NBA history. He also has one of the best basketball IQs to ever play as well. And we don't want to say that Lipsey will become a Chris Paul type player, because he won't. But we do want to point out that teams have used players Lipsey's height off ball in the past and have been successful in doing so. And we believe Lipsey can become a player that has starter potential with the right development, especially nowadays when there are more wings and even big men that serve as primary facilitators on offense. I mean, despite being a couple inches short, there's no doubt in our minds that Lipsey will be a better defender than most starting point guards in the league right now. So anyone that tries to question things like his switch ability are severely misguided in our humble opinion. Instead, the big question is how Lipsey can fit into an NBA offense. And with his intelligence, ball handling, rebounding, cutting, and movement, we think he can be effective at the next level. The real question mark is his shooting, and his development in that facet will likely dictate his future in the NBA. But we want to know what you guys think. Are teams overlooking Tamin Lipsey? Or are we the ones overrating him as a prospect? Please let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more sports news and insights. Thanks for watching. See you next time.